This is a quick review of my folding bucksaw. I've had it for around a year. It's from the Mears company, Woodlore. When you start spending a good bit of time in the outdoors, you want a simple and efficient way of collecting firewood with the least amount of effort possible. Walking around looking for dead wood isn't always the best way of collecting wood, particularly in heavy snow. So a saw and axe combination is invaluable for long-term fuel preparation. The thing that attracted me to this saw was the fact that it came with a really good waterproof canvas bag that's not only been specifically made to fit the saw, but also a small forest axe like the Gransfors Bruks axe, which I already owned and will do a separate review on soon. But I will say this, however, I think it's probably the very best axe available. It's not the cheapest axe, but probably the best, in my opinion. The same can't be said for the leather sheath it came with, however. I might just be unlucky, but my one fell apart pretty much on its very first outing, hence the duct tape. The saw is a very simple but ingenious design that consists of 4 bits of beech wood, a length of paracord, and a 24-inch blade. It's the Bahco Raker toothed hardpoint Bowsaw blade. For those who don't know, Bahco makes some of the very best tools in the world. They're responsible for the Laplander handsaw that some of you may be familiar with. You can pick up replacement blades for the saw for around £10 and they're well worth it. The saw is put together by unfolding and putting the loose bits of wood into the holes either side of the saw handles, then using the peg attached to the cord to wind the two sides of the saw together until the blade becomes stiff. You don't want any movement in the blade, but you don't want it to be too tight and you don't want it to be too loose. By the way, if I've offended the Wood Carver Society of Sawmakers or whatever, by referring to the components as bits of wood and pegs, feel free to leave me comments and tell me what they're really called. The blade is held in place with 2 small screws that admittedly do look a little bit fragile, but as of yet I haven't had any problems whatsoever with them. I really like this saw and I do recommend it, but I do have a few small criticisms. The first one being the square shaped handles. They're rounded off, but in your hand after a bit the saw becomes uncomfortable. You could, I suppose, use paracord or sand them yourself in order to round them off a little bit. The second is the way the blade fits into the 2 handles. There's nothing holding it in that precision, so you do sometimes stick yourself with the saw taking it in and out of the bag. Some elastic will probably sort this. My third criticism is the cost. Now I might be totally wrong, but I think it's a bit overpriced. Don't get me wrong, this is a fine saw, but not a £140 fine. Granted, I don't know how many man hours went into the construction of this saw, and I don't know what the profit markup of the product after sale is. But you can get very similar saws online for as little as £12. Now I should say, the bag can be purchased separately for around £70, and you get the bag with this saw. However, the blade, as we've already said, costs around £10, and what's the cost of a few bits of beech wood and a foot of paracord? I think it has been handmade because the website tells me the name of the man who made it, and he's a renowned bow maker, but I didn't get the impression my saw was lovingly carved by a man in a rocking chair. It needed a little bit of oil and a little bit of sanding when I got it, but I might be wrong. I fully recommend the saw, however next time I think I'll probably steal the design a little bit and have a go at making my own, or perhaps try one of the more modern carbon fibre type saws.